Hello and welcome to Draw With Me. It's time to do just that. Although today is going to be a bit of a slightly different situation because we are going to not only draw together, well, we're not going to actually draw together, we're going to color together. Let me just get rid of my repeating self back there.
Do just that.
Okay, good. Sorry. So today, I thought that it would be interesting to just do something that's super low stress, and that is coloring with colored pencils. I was inspired by this idea by, as you can see here, we have a new course at Sketchbook School called Colored Pencils, and it is a fantastic course and lots of fun. So I hope that you will take this as inspiration for yourself too, and that you'll join me in doing a bit of coloring today. So hopefully you have some pencils sitting around and you would like to try it. I also, well, let me start by talking about colored pencils because I have a bunch of them here. Here we go. Here I have, of course, my pencil sharpeners. I have a couple of them with the double holes so you can get different size pencils in there. And let me just put myself in here too because here I am. Okay, good. So I also have I have things like this. This is a box of Staedtler pencils, and they are they're good solid colored pencils. I like them a lot, and I use them, as you can see, a fair amount. And then I also have this set of Prismacolors, which are also great colored pencils, Prismacolors. And then I have really the thing that I use the most, which is this bag, caddy, this bag of all different kinds of colored pencils. A lot of Derwent watercolor pencils, and Derwent Inktense colored pencils that are nice and bright, and there are various other ones in here. Like here's a dermatograph. I've also called them China marker, and yeah, so that there's lots of them in here. I'm sure you have a similar kind of arrangement. What else? These are actually stole from or borrowed from my wife this morning. She just got this set of these Koh-i-Noor Hardtmuth. These are sort of rainbow pencils, and as you can see, they have lots of different pencil colors kind of embedded in them. Coloring has become such a big thing now. Like here's my, I was at a hotel a couple days ago, and they had these colored pencils that they give you when you walk through the lobby, and they had the little coloring books as well. So anyway, that reminds me, what I wanted to say to you is actually quite important before we begin, which is, what are you going to color? And so I have made a thing for you to color, and you can go and download it. Now, the instructions for where to download it are in the YouTube description down below, but let me just put it up here, put the URL here too. So if you type this in, https://bit.ly/317NECK, you'll be able to download a PDF of this thing and color it in. So if you want to go and do that, if you haven't done it already, then you can. And in the meantime, we'll spend a little bit of time, talking and getting ready. You can join me whenever you're set. What I want to talk about is, well, first I wanted to tell you a bit more about this colored pencil class because it's quite intriguing and interesting. And some of you may know that I have occasionally pretended that I'm very, very adamantly against pencils. And I've snapped them in half on camera and stuff like that. But I am a pen man, but I also like colored pencils. I've always used them. Colored pencils, different for me than regular pencils, but I draw with them too. I'm reformed in my dotage. In my old age, I've become much more open-minded to all forms of writing implements. But I think particularly when you're starting out, it's best to draw with a pen. But let's not go down that twisted road right now. Let's talk instead about this class. And I wanted to show you a little video, which is just, it's 1 minute long, and it will give you, while you're downloading this thing, you can watch this. Chipper, don't you think? Colored pencils are chipper. So I see that some of you are downloading this as we speak, printing it out the PDF on your printers. Cheryl says, quite ingeniously, why is that the wrong color? So Cheryl has said that she has sketched my teacup instead of downloading and printing it, which is, I think, a very good idea. If you've done some other drawings, or if you want to just play around with colored pencils, do whatever the heck you want. I think the idea is just to celebrate colored pencils. And from what you saw from that class, there's so many different ways of doing it. We have these great artists. Andrew Joseph, who you might have seen before, Kosha Kona, who I'm sure you've seen before, but a couple of new people, Katja and Swaski. Katja, who's originally from Siberia, now lives in Holland, and Swaski, who lives in Barcelona. And they're amazing artists, illustrators, and they have all kinds of interesting techniques. And there's so many different things you can do with colored pencils that transcend, what we did in first grade when we got our first colored pencils. And they're just very interesting things to work with. So what I was going to tell you is that today we have a bit of a treat, which is I'm not going to do the rest of this live, although I am certainly sitting here and probably going to be coloring while we're watching. And what we're going to be watching is, first of all, on Monday night, my friend France Belleville Van Stone, who you may know from, she was a teacher in People Drawing People. She was also a teacher in That Looks Really Real, which we just finished doing, and she's also just an incredible artist. You've probably seen her on Instagram and various other things, and on Sketchy. So she came over for dinner, and I said, you know what do you say, let's do some coloring. Now, France isn't a big colorist. She, in fact, tends to draw in pen and ink, so I thought it would be kind of an interesting challenge for her. And she was game to do it, and so I was certainly happy to have her join me. And so we sat down at the table and we drew, and I flipped on the camera and made this very rough film. I mean, basically it's just a camera watching us while we color. But I thought that instead of drawing with me, you would color with me and France. So let's try our hands at that.
Right. So France. So normally you like to draw, as do I.
But today, or tonight, we are going to color. Colored pencils. So I have my trusty bag of colored pencils that are kind of made up of lots of different brands. Derwent ink tints and Derwent watercolor pencils, various others. Then we have this set here.
And Prismacolor here to my right.
Yeah, so we have lots of different kinds. And we have this drawing of the teacup that we're going to be working on. So when was the last time that you colored?
I don't want to say grade school, that would be an exaggeration.
Really?
But no, but I really have not colored in a long time.
But you have a daughter, so surely you must have colored.
She was never a huge fan of coloring.
No kidding, really.
Yeah, it was like the jig was up for her. It was like, is that just because you want me to be busy? For her, it was busy work. She preferred drawing.
That's
yeah,
good. Okay.
It was like giving her a worksheet. She didn't buy it.
So, all right. So there's yours. Here's mine.
But what's the last time that you colored, you think?
I mean, my son is a big man now, so
Yeah.
you know, it's been. I mean, I used to color with him, I think, but I don't know. It's probably been at least 20 years. I mean, I don't know.
I believe you.
I don't know that
Make
there's
it
been a lot of
unbelievable.
development in coloring since then. But. So were you always very careful? I bet you were, about coloring inside the lines, right?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course.
I think I probably tried to color inside the lines, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I was good at it. But we were talking earlier about how much of a trend it's become, right?
Absolutely. Coloring books left and right. With adults, really.
Yeah.
There is something soothing and not too demanding from a creative point of view, I would say, because the drawing is done and all you have to do is just place the color, right? And so
Well,
I think it fulfills a lot of things. The stress
I think
of
it depends
creating.
on what you. Yeah, I think that's true. I think also in an analog world,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe I'll just focus it on you for a while, and then I'll come back.
Oh, sure.
Because I think it's more distracting.
Yeah.
To be off camera. Yeah, so I think there's you know, we're so digital all the time. We want to just make something.
Yeah, and I think people, you know, since we don't basically write anymore, we type everything. I think there's this eagerness to reconnect to paper, maybe on the part of people, and that's one way to do it.
I mean, coloring is not very judgmental, right? I mean,
That's right.
it used to be when you were a kid that you would be encouraged to color
Mm-hmm.
within the lines. But even that, I'm not even sure why they bothered to tell kids that. What's the point?
Well, I think it was a fine motor skills kind of thing. That's my opinion.
No, that's true.
There's something to be said about being able to keep some kind of control, but then, kind of just like Jimi Hendrix did with the guitar, you just go out of control once you've learned the control. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably the most beautiful thing that we can do.
So I can use Jimi Hendrix as my excuse for coloring outside of the lines.
Right. But only after you've maybe you've mastered the art of coloring inside the lines.
So yours is a little boring. I'll be honest with you.
Fine.
Not to be judgmental, because
No, but you know, feel free to.
but a little boring to watch, perhaps. But maybe not. Maybe it's meditative. Because
Well,
you
look
get
at what
really,
I'm
you have
doing.
really, you have
I'm
really
putting more
nice,
lines in.
You have really nice dark colors.
It's true that they are. You know, I'm putting them in like in as big blocks, and I'm actually applying a lot of pressure.
I see that because your color is really.
It's stark, right? And
'cause
what about you?
I'm doing,
Icy.
I'm
Mhm.
doing like kind of cross hatching.
Yes, you are.
But I have this idea that I'm going to combine other colors.
You know, you shouldn't have pronounced the word cubist before.
Cubiste?
Cubiste?
Cubiste? Is that what I said? Yeah?
Because now I'm tempted to do.
A cubist version?
Well, no, maybe not entirely cubist, but definitely adding some lines between these cherries and leaves.
Are you allowed to do that?
Well, you know, I'm giving myself permission. I'm giving myself license. And then we'll see. It's always better to ask for forgiveness, I hear, than ask permission.
Well, you're a school teacher, so is that how you
Apparently,
run things?
That's how they run things, and that's how I've been used to, you know.
Now, what about when it comes to your students? Do you encourage that kind of
I wouldn't say that I encourage it, but I think it's probably a decent course of action for real life. To just go ahead and do it, and then if it doesn't work for the people above you, just say, I'm sorry.
But you're a parent as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that coloring books encourage people to toe the line and be conformist because you're basically following the lead of another artist?
Maybe you are, but I think it would be more so if it were, coloring by numbers, which I'm sure does exist, in those coloring books. Though I really don't know those coloring books
Well,
that
I think
well.
they're not coloring books, actually. Oh, I guess there are coloring books like that, but there's also paint by number sets.
Right.
Where they tell you exactly what color.
Right.
Should
And
be.
that is towing the line. But I think that coloring books just sort of remove that pressure, don't you think?
Yeah, you don't need to think about it. I mean, it's pretty mindless. I mean, I think, what I like about it, though, is I think it takes one of the things that both of us like about drawing, which is shading and cross-hatching.
Absolutely.
Right, so, I think it allows you to just kind of do that. And I don't know about you, but a lot of time when I'm cross-hatching, I'm really not thinking.
Oh, that's there's something that takes over. It's cliche, but I've said it many times. It is meditative.
Right.
And it's meditative for a reason. It's because you don't overthink. You allow yourself to,
You're in the present.
You really throw yourself in the now. Absolutely.
So maybe that's the appeal of coloring books too.
But that's also the beauty about throwing yourself in the moment, is that you also remove yourself from it. I don't know how else to explain it, but when you throw yourself in it, you can sort of get that distance from things that I don't think you can do from just being on your iPhone, or your...
Well, part of it's a physical activity.
Yes.
So your body is kind of just doing this thing. I mean, we're having a conversation that I think would be much harder to have if we were both drawing.
I don't know about that, because I personally really like drawing and chatting at the same time. But again, depending on what kind of drawing I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah. Might be a good point.
Yeah, I think drawing from a photo, as opposed to if you were drawing like a moving person or something like that would be a different story, right?
Yeah, drawing a moving person does require a lot more concentration on my part, even if I'm doing it loosely and fast. Yeah, I'm not in chatty mode when I do that.
But I think another thing about coloring is you can turn off most of your judgmental faculties, because you're not, like when you're drawing, you're always sort of thinking, am I doing this right? Did I make the right decision?
I
Is
know.
this line the right length? Is that angle the right size?
So true.
But when even if you're, as competent as you are at it, and as confident as you are at it, there's still, it's not necessarily judgment as in I suck, but it's more judgment in just like I want to, like driving a car, like am I going the right way?
Absolutely.
Am I?
Is this going is this going the way I want?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And with coloring, I mean, I think you could probably make some decisions, right?
Yeah, but they are not
like
obviously as.
Like I'm gonna decide to do something to this leaf, or I'm not gonna just color in this particular part of it, just like that, but I'm gonna decide to give some dimension to it. So that involves a certain amount
of thinking, of decision making,
I guess, or even if like, oh, well, that didn't turn out very well.
Okay.
Kind of thinking. So.
Okay. I have 4 colors going right now. How about you?
I've used 3 or 4 different reds, and now I'm using 2 greens.
Interesting.
I was thinking it would be cool to just try this with just the process colors, magenta, cyan, and
yellow.
Oh yeah.
And then sort of try and mix colors as you go. That could be cool.
That is something color is still a kind of a foreign land to me. And
Because
for
you
me
draw
to
in
mix
lines.
colors, yeah, I'm all, if I drew for the rest of my life in black and white, I really wouldn't mind. Or in monochromatic, So for me to mix colors is still a very, very foreign concept.
Do you feel like you don't know about color science?
Correct. I don't know the color wheel. I don't know, I remember talking to my friends who are art teachers, and then they would be like, "Oh, just go with the opposite color," and I would be like, "What does that mean?"
Oh, really? So you didn't even know, like?
No, I still
go
don't.
across it, yeah.
No, I still do not. No, this is all instinctive, I think, which.
Well, you like limited colors, right? But I've also seen you do things, particularly digitally, that were really brightly colored and had lots of colors in them, right?
And digital also does that to me. It sort of allows me to take risks that I would not usually take, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
You mean because you can undo them?
And also because I just feel, in general, I just feel more free. Yeah, there's the idea of undoing and just just feeling a little more bold. Yeah, probably because I can undo.
But like, look at how bold the colors are that you're working with now.
They are kind of dictated by what I had in this box.
Right, but you're not cross-hatching. You're not blending.
No, I am just filling shapes.
You're just doing like a two-dimensional thing.
Totally, I'm coloring the way I did in first grade.
Really? So do you think that this experience is regressive in some way? Like it's taking you back to some earlier state?
Maybe, but not regressive in a negative way.
No, I mean regressive in the sense that you're going back, just traveling.
Yeah. I really think that the gestures that we're doing and everything, that definitely has its roots in like very old. This is a very old gesture for me, a very old habit. Is it for you too? Or is this kind of new what you're doing?
No, I think I'm stuck between two worlds honestly now because
really?
I think on the one hand I'm trying to be clever.
Because you're on camera.
No, just because I've been drawing for so long that I'm interested in the challenge of seeing what I can do.
So I understand. Yeah. Of course.
Yes, I mean I think it's not enough to me to just color it in. I have to do more. But you're making interesting color choices, which I wouldn't have made. So you're still expressing yourself in some way.
But I think
all right, we're going to continue. I'm just pausing briefly because I wanted to, for those of you who are having fun coloring, continue. But I also wanted to show you a little sample lesson from this colored pencil course, which is about color theory, and it might be interesting to you and might inform the choices that you're making right now. It's just a couple minutes long. It's 4 minutes long, I think. So I'm just going to show you that. But again, feel free to keep coloring or watch this, I think, pretty interesting lesson here.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea because it was looking a little Christmassy.
By the way, can we talk about this? The fact that it is so much more enjoyable to color, or draw for that matter, in my opinion, when the surface underneath is hard rather than having like a few layers of paper.
Interesting, because when we were just starting, I was going to say, I wonder if we need to put something underneath this, but I'm actually kind of feeling the same way too.
Yeah.
It's picking up a bit of the texture almost.
I'm definitely getting that sense too, that I'm getting some things from underneath, which is fine. It doesn't,
It's one of the things about colored pencils in a sketchbook is that you have to press really hard to get really bright colors, and it can completely screw up your paper.
Exactly, and you end up having like this embossed, which I hate. Personally, I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. it goes through the next page and.
So for me, the way to prevent that, when you are in a sketchbook and you don't want to take out the pages out, you just put a clipboard underneath the page that you're on, small one, you know, and you just put it under, and then that way you have that hard surface without having to take out any paper. So that's what I do. Oh, here's some room for yellow here.
You are a bit more organized about those things. I mean.
Oh, it's just that I really don't like having that soft feel under my paper, personally. I don't at all.
I don't know if you saw
me.
when Jason Doss was drawing drawing people, and he does this thing where he puts like a piece of paper under his hand as he's drawing. Yes. And I thought, wow, that's really organized of you.
All right, here we go. I think I've figured out how to share this with you. Let's see how successful I've been at this. I know. I'm sorry, Eliza. I am on it now. It is just taking a second. You know what? I'm going to continue. It's just one of those things, of course, where invariably things get more complicated than they should. But I hope you're having enjoyably coloring and not allowing these various techno distractions. If anything, this is an example of why analog can often be better than digital. So.
Non-style by sort of avoiding any.
But non-style is style.
I guess. Maybe because, yeah, I would say maybe I could recognize me.
I mean, if I looked at that, I would know I hadn't done it. There's no way that I would have done that.
Why?
I think I probably wouldn't have had the patience to do such solid color like that.
Gotcha.
And to do it so. Because you're so consistent that all the colors of equal intensity. I just don't think I would have that patience. So. But on the other hand, if you showed me that and said, "Did France do this?" I would say,
"No way, right?
Way,
okay,
no, it's impossible."
So here's my question: what would you have expected me to do? Cross-hatching?
I think I would have expected you to do what I did.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm channeling what because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm channeling.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Interesting, right?
Somebody's got to show up and do the responsible thing. So I guess I'll step into the void and do it myself.
Fine, I'll do it.
Yeah, fine.
But that is unlike you. I've never seen you
be responsible like that.
No, responsible. I would say. Well, you look. The cherries on the original cup are red, and your cherries are red. I really didn't think you were going to go according to what the cup dictated. Does that make sense?
I follow orders. I was told to.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because I drew this that I'm sort of thinking I'll finish what I'd done. Whereas for you, because you didn't draw it, you feel more liberty to screw it up.
No, but I think what you said originally is true. That what I chose to do and what you chose to do sort of influenced each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe when you draw and color next to someone, this is unavoidable. Maybe there's like an interaction that takes place without us even wanting it. You know what I mean?
It might have been interesting. You know what we should have done now that I think about it? We should have both colored the same thing.
Now there are so many different colors if you buy a tin of pencils or a box of pencils, and of course all those colors make us super creative and you can create super colorful pages. But it's also quite good to know just the basics about color. Okay, so most people will probably know this, but I'll explain anyway. There are 3 primary colors, and those are the colors that cannot be mixed by any other colors. And those are yellow, red, and blue. If you mix yellow and red, you will get orange. That is the secondary color. If you mix yellow and blue, you get green. And if you mix red and blue, you get purple. These colors are the primaries. And then these colors are your secondary colors. Actually, these colors are all that you need because you can mix any color with these together. So I sort of made a color wheel here. The yellow is right opposite of the purple. So these are opposite colors. And that's really good to know because sometimes if you are creating shadow, for example, it's really handy to use the opposite color for the shadow to darken the yellow instead of, for example, using light yellow and then adding more pressure to add more yellow to create shadow. That isn't always effective. But if you add a little bit of purple, that darkens your yellow. I can show you. Here's a yellow shape. A little bit of the purple. And you need to be careful to not have like the super dark purple. It's more like the violet, because otherwise it might be too heavy on the yellow, because yellow is a very light color. And then you can layer a little bit more and you can add another layer. And that way you are creating a darker space within that yellow. So I think this is really all you need to know for opposite colors, primaries and secondaries. And of course there's a whole range between those primary and secondary colors. And you will find them if you buy one of those large boxes of colored pencils. Knowing this actually can also really help you to choose your colors. You can create color harmony in your drawings by really thinking about your colors. And the harmony, you can create it by selecting colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. I'll take the yellow and then something that is close by. So I'll take a light orange. And something that is here on the same sort of side still, maybe a pink. And then you can see that this is already a little bit of a cooler color, but it is kind of a warm range. With this palette, I could create a whole drawing just choosing this palette, and it will have sort of a unity. You can do the same thing with cool colors. I could go on this side, this one, and then I have a wonderful cool palette with a lot of difference in color and tone. You can also choose to go sort of extreme and choose colors that are opposites, and they can be also complementary colors. So maybe you choose these greens, very bright green, more of an earthy tone, and then maybe I add a pink. Look at how cool those colors go together, and maybe also purple. So that way you add a lot of contrast to your palette. Personally, I really like what happens with that pink and that green. I was totally surprised when I picked those and put them together. I love that, but you might be like, ew, that clashes, and it's like, those are horrible colors. Every artist has their own taste and their own palette they choose, which is fantastic because it adds your personality to your drawings.
All right, now that was one of about 10 gazillion videos that we've got in this new class. They're not all theoretical like that, but it's really interesting to think about color theory. It applies obviously to watercolor, and we talked about that for those of you who took watercolor rules. But when it comes to colored pencils, there's a lot of interesting things that you can do when you think in terms of limited palettes and you think in terms of layering colors that are complementary. A lot of interesting things happen, and the artists in this class really go into some of those thoughts and take something that, you know, a lot of times when we color, it's really intuitive, just grab whatever pencils are there and sort of work on it. But when you start to think about ideas behind it, and then you think about different techniques for applying color, there's just so much to think about, and this class goes into it. So, but anyway, meanwhile, let's get back to where we were with France and.
My pencil here to get some. Oh, love that. Now you're getting a little bit Van Gogh-esque.
Yeah, it is Van Gogh.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think Van Gogh ever had colored pencils. I don't think they existed in the 80s.
I don't think they did, no.
So I'm going to Amsterdam, and one of many things that I love about Amsterdam is the Van Gogh Museum.
Mm.
And one of my favorite things that they have at the Van Gogh Museum, I don't know if it's on permanent display,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a not terribly well-known thing about him, is that he used to sometimes plan out the color palettes of his paintings with balls of yarn. Seriously?
Really?
Yeah, so they have this box with all these balls of yarn, and you could tell that it was going to be the colors of a painting.
Oh.
So there'd be like it was a way of doing like color theory or color examination.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I never
I
knew.
don't know where he came up with that. I've never heard of anybody else doing that, but
Never knew.
he was crazy.
The good kind, huh? I know that I saw his drawings at the Met, I believe, years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Was it in 05 or something like that, or 04? Maybe. And I was blown away by the quality of his drawings. Because for me, I cannot dissociate Van Gogh from color.
Right.
But seeing his drawings just wow.
There's a lot of color in his line quality.
Mm.
He would draw with those, I guess they were wood pens. I was going to say bamboo, but I don't think they were bamboo.
Oh, yeah?
So there's that certain quality to those lines, and he would make a lot of these, rows and rows of these things. Sorry, this pencil, I've sharpened it like 8 times, and it just does not hold.
Oh, no. I'm noticing that I don't have to sharpen a great deal myself, but I'm using.
It's surprising considering how hard you're pressing.
Yeah, and they're very dull, but it still, gives me a good color. Talking of which, do you have a favorite brand of watercolor? Color pencil?
I don't. No, I don't
Okay.
really. I don't use them enough to care that much,
Mhm.
but.
Because I personally like how soft the Prismacolor
Yeah.
are. Because a hard colored pencil is like a penance.
I think those Derwent Inktense ones have a really nice quality. I have a bunch of those,
Yeah?
and yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting a lot of pressure here. It's as if I really didn't want the paper to show at all.
Do you think it would be possible to fill that entire page?
Around the cup, I'm not sure, and I see that you're going around it. I have not even thought of that. I'm really thinking inside the box tonight.
Really, I'm surprised you would say that, because that was my own self-criticism. So.
Yeah, you
I'm
said
glad
it
that
was
you picked up
boring,
on it.
but no, it's not. You are, again, you're thinking in terms of also of negative space and how to fill it.
I think I got
Whereas I
bored
don't.
with being boring, so
Yeah, I guess.
forcing myself to think of something. But
Yeah.
there's a Van Gogh Hockney show, which I think just ended at the Van Gogh Museum. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was about, because they were both landscape painters, and both of them are so much about color, and I think that was what it was about. I think Kosha went to see it. I think I'm not going to get a chance to. But.
Okay. That would have been interesting. Did you see the David Hockney exhibit at the Met?
Oh yeah.
Last year or 2 years ago?
That was amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, I saw one in San Francisco about 3 years ago.
Oh yeah?
With like rooms full of TVs that were playing all of his iPad.
That I love. I love that it can be exhibited that way.
Yeah.
There were only 3 at the Met, right? 3 vertical
Might have been.
canvases of his
But
iPads.
they changed.
They were moving. I think they were work in progress. They were showing how it was done, weren't they? Those 3.
They were playbacks.
Right.
Yeah, video playbacks.
That was very interesting. I wish there had been more. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that black and white.
Yeah, it was just to break the color a little bit. And yeah, I did have a Beetlejuice in the back of my head when I did this. So again, coloring with a very dull tip here. That's
So you know, Kosha is assembled this class on colored pencil drawing.
Yeah.
And there's just so many different aspects of it that you wouldn't have thought of, you know,
Oh,
in
I
terms
bet.
of ways of thinking about this stuff, and techniques, and color theory. I think is a large part of it because it's also about like how do you mix new colors
Mm-hmm.
beyond the ones you have. You know, there's a lot of variations that you can make with colored pencils because
Mhm.
you can press harder, and so the same color can give you lots of different colors.
That's right.
But also mixing them. You know, you can blend them into each other, which is something we're not really doing.
No, I'm separating them with lines. So
Right,
I'm
right.
totally
You're kind of the
avoiding.
opposite of that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm avoiding doing anything like that, any voodoo. I'm not going
But
in
there are
there.
these special blending sticks, you know, that are
4 colored pencils, really?
yeah. So they're kind of like rolled up paper, and then
Yes,
you can rub them
mhm.
together, and
Mm-hmm.
they make you blend colors into each other. Are you exhausted by your thing? Or are you still interested?
No, I think what I'm hitting right now is the prospect of continuing to do the same thing over and over.
And it's getting boring, or it's pleasurable?
It's getting to the point where, you know, unfortunately drawing does that to me. Drawing also
You get tired of it?
is the drawing kind of walks away from me before I'm done with it. And when that moment happens, it's kind of good
So you
to
think you've
acknowledge
reset.
it.
So
Yeah, I'm pretty much.
There we are. Let's have a
Yeah,
look.
what do you think? I love what you did here and here. Because you actually took care of the background. I did not even do the inside of the cup.
Look at all these interesting things that are happening in there.
Yeah.
And it's because the
It
color is
happened
so
here.
it's
Greasy.
yeah, it is greasy.
Almost. I really like that. I really like that.
All right, so I think you should stay up all night and just keep working on this until you've gotten it done. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. So I'm going to be here and I'll just let myself out at midnight.
That was interesting. So I also like arranging colored pencils. I don't know if that's
That's
something that
another
appeals
thing
to
I
you.
was going to ask you when I put them back. I was like, should I put them in the order of the...
You can arrange them by size. You can arrange them by alphabetical order. You can arrange
Ooh.
them by the numbers. See, some of them have numbers on them.
Oh, yes, yes.
But yeah, I would say I'm gonna. This will be my final pleasurable act here. Will be to
Look how
organize
close these
these.
two are.
Just to make sure that this is the most boring video that's ever been on YouTube.
Oh, there you go. This is how I've organized.
Here, hold them to this camera here.
How about like this?
Very nice.
Right.
See, that's very
And that's
sort of,
it.
it's like gay pride looking.
But yeah, it's Pride Month.
There it is. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And what are you organizing yours by?
I'm organizing them by the periodic table of elements, the table of periodic elements, and so I'm arranging them by the valences of the active ingredient in each color.
Yeah.
So starting with zirconium and working my way back to
Clearly,
arsenic.
you know what? I should have thought about that when I saw it.
Yeah,
It should have jumped
I mean,
out.
That's the way I like to keep my stuff organized, so that I
Yes.
can always find it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm glad that you came all this way to color with me.
Oh, we did not sign.
Oh, we're gonna sign it?
Yes.
Wait, we missed the most exciting moment, which is the signing. The signing of the coloring. That is very important. So, let me show you what I've been doing. What happened to my camera? Here it is. My camera went off for a second. But yeah, so I was in between sabotaging the playback. I was coloring. For some reason, I was channeling sort of gingham, calico. But yeah, and that was my creative experience. Hopefully you had some fun doing yours. Coloring. Who'da thunk it? That's what I made. Signed it down here. Here's Francis. Beautiful. Channeling Mickey de Saint-Phal. And, you know, as I said, it's just a relaxing, fun thing to do. I hope that you enjoyed it too. Maybe we'll keep coloring. Let me know if you like coloring. Let me know what else you'd like us to draw together. I always have ideas, but you know, I don't think it really matters what we do as long as we hang out, chat, discuss, share, chill. Thanks again for drawing with me, and I'll see you again next Thursday, same bat station, same bat time, same bat day, Thursday.